Let's go. Oh, wait. Do you want to be part of my Be Real?
Sure.
Pausing the episode to be real. 1 second. All right, let's do it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. First episode of 2023. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
And we're back with a really fun episode. We're going to do WSL transfer, preview of upcoming games, and, of course, an NWSL draft preview, which is always fun because Allie never understands it.
Nope. Nothing. I got nothing.
How you doing, Allie? How's 2023 treating you so far?
2023 is treating me very well, you know. All of my Christmas gifts were for a teenage boy because all of my friends and family were like, oh yeah, they play football now. Which, to be fair, I did ask for something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying that all of the gifts you bought were for a teenage boy. No. And I was like, I think you need to explain that a little further.
No, so like I did ask for some things, but like I got some new tracksuits from my other half.
Nice.
And I got like some a new kit bag from my parents. And,
nice.
Yeah, so it was very much like, we have a thing that we can buy for now. They play football.
Did you get any kits, any West Ham kits or anything?
I didn't get any kits, but I did get some t-shirts.
Nice.
That were West Ham. So
what are the holidays for if not to get essentials from people so you don't have to buy them, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I got some great stuff. My sister's got me these sunglasses that maybe I'll like put on and we can take a photo that I'm just in love with. But it hasn't been sunny one day, basically, since they've given them to me. So I haven't really gotten to wear them. I'm joining you here from sunny, supposedly, California. But it hasn't been. But mainly I'm excited to be back. And I'm excited to have football back because we're hitting 2023 running. Like, transfer window is open, moves are being made, WSL is back and running, and then over here we've got the NWSL draft, and right when that kicks off, madness is going to ensue. And at the same time, paralleling that, we've got January camp for the U.S. Women's National Team. So we are fully back, baby.
Who's talking about January blues? It's gonna be amazing.
We are kicking it off with the WSL, and we're going to talk transfer window, big moves, and then we're going to preview the upcoming games. But we've got to start with the biggest news so far out of the transfer windows, which are the two moves of Jordan Nobbs to Aston Villa and Beth England to the Spurs. Allie, you just said that one of these was surprising to you because of where that player went. Which one of these is that?
Beth England to Spurs.
Really?
Yes.
No, it's flipped for me. Where else would Beth England go other than Spurs? Like, she's not going to United. She's not going to Arsenal. And the Spurs are the team that she can go to, and they just need a few more pieces and they can compete. The other option for her would have been West Ham, I feel like. But I think that she would have rather stayed, tell me if I'm wrong geographically, a little closer to where she was?
Tottenham is technically, but not by much.
Okay.
Yes, technically is. No, I get that, but like I knew Beth England wanted to go. Like the rumors have been swirling like around for ages. Like in the media circles, it's been swirling for ages that she wasn't happy. She wasn't happy, and that she wants to get out. It was the fact that it's the amount of money that Spurs paid for her is shocking to me because it was Spurs paying it, because she's worth that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want Beth England fans to come to me and saying that they should have paid less for her. Absolutely not.
And I'm not looking at the number. What specifically did they pay?
They paid $250,000, allegedly, making her the third most expensive player.
Behind who?
Harder and Kerr. Right. So it was flipping to me. And it also feels a bit like Spurs have blown their budget on one player, which is stopping a gap in one area of the pitch. But it's going to get her guaranteed playing time because Spurs don't have a striker at all. Like, she's going to come straight into that squad. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you make, that they've kind of blown their budget on one player, and one player does not make a team. But you do look at their lineup and they've got some solid talent across the board, right? We're not denying that. But I think it could end up being a really positive move for Spurs. And I think it's actually okay that they blew their budget on one player. And here's why. First of all, when you bring a player like Beth England in, that attracts other players. I want to go play with Beth England because she's going to make me better and I want to play with her. I want to play with the top players. I want to practice against them. So first of all, they're going to be able to get better players simply by having her. Second of all, their main problem this year has been scoring goals. They're mainly sitting as low in the table as they are because they can't score goals. They've got 11 goals for and 17 goals against. 11 goals in this entire season so far. To put that in perspective, Chelsea scored 31. So this is a massive problem for Tottenham. And I think Beth England's going to actually be worth the money for them.
All I'm saying is I hope that she can do it on a damp night at Boreham Wood, unlike a certain tea drinking player.
So I kind of want to talk about both of these moves in the larger picture.
Yeah.
Because they both of these players moved from teams where they were not getting playing time. Both of these players used to be very, very strong players for the England national team, and they've fallen off. Yes, for injury reasons, but also because they're not getting the time they need in their clubs. And I want to spend a moment talking about Sarina Wagman's rule and how new this is for England and why this is potentially the cause for some of these moves that we're seeing.
Yeah, so Sarina has come out and publicly stated that unless you are getting regular game time with your club, you are not getting into that England squad. And I think this is huge because it is quite new for England, because anybody who's lived through the Mark Sampson years, the Phil Neville years, even Hope Powell to an extent, favourites were played. And players that were considered out of form, I will name them.
We don't have that here in the U.S. That doesn't happen on the U.S. women's national team, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, we don't know what we're talking about at all. But yeah, players that are out of form would still get call-ups over maybe younger talent that could fill their spot but wasn't getting the opportunity, even though they were playing for maybe not the big three. And Sarina has turned around and said, no, we're not doing that. So if you're not getting regular minutes at your club, I'm not going to even consider you for the England squad. You're not even going to get anywhere near the 23, 24 players we need for tournaments.
It's funny because it sounds so trivial. That sounds so basic, right? Of like, well, yeah, if you're not playing, how can you get called up? But that's actually not the way that the women's soccer world works or that the soccer world works. And here's why I love that rule. This rule is going to make the WSL as a league better, because players like Jordan Nobbs and Beth England, who are playing for top teams but are not getting playing time, are all of a sudden going to look at what's happening and say, I need to go somewhere else. They're going to go to a middle table team, and then the whole league is going to become more competitive. The name of the game right now for middle table teams is to pick off these players, invest in facilities, invest in coaching, and you will start to climb. This rule really reminds me of Jill Ellis's rule. And I know, Jill Ellis, the name is like kind of fraught with a lot of controversy right now, but let's just look at specifically the rule that she created for the U.S. women's national team players. When she was the head coach of the team, she was not going to take you onto the team unless you were playing in the NWSL. And after everything that's come out in the NWSL, obviously, that was unfortunate. But the reason behind it was to grow the game here, was to grow the league here. And say what you will about it, it did. It really did. And I think that Sarina Wagman's rule is kind of like a better version of Jill Ellis's rule. It's a simpler, better version of it to say, if you're not playing minutes, I'm not going to look at you. It doesn't have to be here, but if you're not playing minutes, I'm not going to look at you.
Exactly. I was going to say, it's not limiting players to stay in the WSL, because you can see Bronze and Walsh playing for Barca, Stanway's in the starting lineup for Bayern. Like, it's a good rule, and we're going to see more fringe England players, because we've already seen it. We saw it last season with Jill Scott taking the 2 loan moves to Everton and Aston Villa to make sure she could get into the Euros for her last tournament.
But I have to say, usually it's where those fringe England players would go to die. They'll move from a top team to a middle table team when they can't compete in the top team anymore. And it's going to be the opposite now. This is going to be like the resurgence of their careers. And I'm very excited to see how this plays out for both Beth England, Jordan Nobbs, and the clubs. But before we move on to talking about teams, I want to ask, are there any Any other noticeable moves? Those are the big ones. Any other noticeable moves that we should highlight here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big ones is the reason you can see probably Nobbs was going is Palova's gone to Arsenal, young talent. The Gemma Bonner is back in the WSL, baby.
Tell us more about Palova before we move over to Gemma Bonner. I just think that it's a name that people don't know too much about, you know?
No, so Victoria Palova is a young talent. Like Arsenal's moves seem to be going for the youngest. So she's 23, midfielder, just come over from Ajax, where she was playing in the Champions League, which obviously Arsenal want to do well this year. She's a Dutch player, so she's played in the Netherlands national team for a good few years. And so, yeah, she's an exciting talent.
Gemma Bonner coming over from Louisville. Disappointing season, disappointing time in the NWSL, and she has returned to the WSL. I think everybody's just going to be happy to see her back.
Yep, and she's back to Liverpool, which is where she was before she went to City. She knows Matt Beard well. I think it's, there was no other club I could see her coming back to.
Well, especially knowing what Matt Beard is doing. He's just bringing in players who he knows and who knows him. So it was an easy match. All right, and finally, another player moving from the NWSL over to the WSL, somebody close to your heart.
I love her dearly, yes.
Brie Vasali. This was a surprise for me. I'm not going to lie. Brie Vasali has been an NWSL staple. She's played on Houston for, I don't know, at least 4 years straight now. She has been a lockdown defender in their back line and is going over to the WSL.
Yep, going over to Brighton, one of Brighton's first signings of this transfer window under their new coach. For selfish reasons, I'm really excited that Brie is back in the WSL because she is one of my favourite players to watch. She's small but mighty. She can play defensively or she can go into your midfield and is just so pacey. So, yeah, selfishly, I'm excited she's back into the WSL.
Your former trainer.
My former trainer. But I do want to just say something very quickly because we're getting a lot of this on Twitter and Facebook. Football is a transitory job. People move all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean there is something wrong with your club. It does not mean that there is something wrong with the player. It's just that the puzzle piece isn't fitting. So I would like to, especially West Ham fans, I love you guys, but you are very dramatic. Nothing is happening. We will be signing people. It's only just opened. Thank you.
I think it's an interesting point because especially in the NWSL, but I think across women's soccer, there hasn't been a lot of movement historically. Players attach to teams and they stay there. And we're at a really great inflection point where players want the ability to move around more and they're taking it. That's part of what the NWSL CBA was about. Players want the ability to become free agents and move where they want to go and move more frequently. And I don't think that us as women's soccer fans are used to it. And it's hard for me sometimes, too. Even Brie Vasali leaving Houston, I was like, why? What happened? But it's okay. She's been there for a long time and she wants a change. Let's talk upcoming games. We're back. We're back this weekend. We've got some big games. We're back with a splash. It was as if somebody looked at the schedule and said, how can we come back really strong? And then made all of these matchups. So Saturday and Sunday is going to be so much fun. So let's take this one by one. We're kicking it off here between us. We're going to talk Aston Villa versus Tottenham. And let's just both kind of comment on what we see for this game, the importance of this game for either team or the matchup.
Do you know what? Up until the transfer window, this game would have been a probably medium level game.
Yeah.
Like not for a neutral. It would have been like a big game for Villa fans, Spurs fans, but the fact that this is probably going to be the first game that Jordan Nobbs and Beth England play for their new club.
It's so funny. It's like the two biggest moves, and they're just going to be pitted against each other.
I mean, as somebody pointed out to me, what we're really excited about is how Nobbs is going to work with Daly. Can you imagine that pairing, the Nobbs-Daly pairing?
Aston Villa is doing, and we've been just touting their praises all year, or I have. You were a hater at the beginning, and I'm not going to let you forget it.
I was. It's Iceland all over again.
They are doing such a good job. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Jordan Nobbs or Beth England. I think people are going to turn on the TV thinking that they're going to get to see these two kind of play against each other. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll see them for a few minutes. But nonetheless, it's going to be an exciting matchup. We'll still see them for some minutes. This is still a 7-8 team matchup. And I think that a loss could be really detrimental to either of these teams and kind of sink them to the bottom of the table, versus the win will catapult them to like a true middle of the table. So this means more than just Nobbs in England.
I think you're wrong.
You think we'll see them?
I think we're going to see them. This is like, are you kidding me? This is like a sign for both teams to like show the Willingham why they've spent the big bucks on, because we don't know what they paid for Jordan, but she can't have been cheap. All right. So this is why they've splashed the big cash for the two teams. So no, I think these are going to be like marquee signings. They're going to go in first game. They may not play the full 90, but they're going to be starting.
Nonetheless, that's going to be a blast. Moving on to the top of the table clash. This is it's Arsenal versus Chelsea. Chelsea sitting in first place right now, 2 points ahead of Arsenal, but Arsenal do have a game in hand. Personally, like obviously this is a massive matchup, but I don't think that this is a make or break for either team at all. And I'll tell you why. First of all, they have another matchup coming up at the end of the season. So it's not their only head-to-head. So there is room for error here. And on top of that, we've seen both of these teams fall. We just saw Arsenal fall to United. We've seen Chelsea fall already. I don't actually think that either of these teams are going to win out their games after this one. So while this matters a lot, it's not everything.
Who do you think they could fall to?
Well, I definitely think Chelsea can fall to United. And I think that as we get into the FA Cup, as Champions League continues, Chelsea's legs will be getting more tired. And we've talked about how their focus is on Champions League this year. It's not on the WSL. I think that they're going to put their best foot forwards for Champions League, and that will leave them exposed in the league. So anybody.
Fun fact for you. No team that's been top at Christmas has ever won the WSL.
Wow.
They have been usurped every single time.
That is a fun fact. I'm going to remember that as we continue. What do you think? Is this everything, or do you agree with me?
I think the actual 3 points don't really matter in this game. I think where it's make or break is this is Arsenal's testament. How are they going to go on without Beth Mead, without Vivian Miedemar? They've lost two key players for a very long time due to two ACL injuries. And it's going to be, and people are already writing them off now. They're like, you ain't got Mead, you ain't got Miedemar, what are you going to do? So I think the importance of this game is not the 3 points. It's how are Arsenal going to play this? How are they going to establish the dominance? You know, are they going to play well? If they're going to play well and lose 1-0, then that's fine for them. If they play terribly and nick a goal, fans are going to be more worried because there are going to be players that aren't focusing on the Champions League that either want to get into places or they want to win. So are they going to lose to Man United again in the return fixture? Are they going to lose to a Man City that's on the up and coming? So I think it's all about how Arsenal actually tackle this game. So it's more important for Arsenal than Chelsea, I think.
I would agree with that, just based on the injuries alone. Moving on to Everton versus Reading. By the way, I just want to tell everybody, Allie's written all of these games out for us, and for some reason has written Everton women versus Reading women, Man United women versus
That's
Liverpool.
That's because I copied and pasted. It's because I copied and pasted.
Did you think we were going to talk about the men's games or something?
No, I copied and pasted it from the BBC and I couldn't be bothered changing it.
All right, we're talking Everton versus Reading. Allie, give us your thoughts.
This one I think is probably going to take the place of Tottenham and Aston Villa in being that sort of... The fans are going to be excited about it, but not maybe one for the neutrals. I will say, however, after Reading almost came back against Chelsea before the Christmas break, I think they have got a bit more of a spring in their step. So we shall see how that goes. Kelly Chambers has been nominated for Manager of the Month for December. So I do think it's going to be, though, both are quite tight defensively. They're not very good at scoring. And it's going to be probably a 1-0.
What? Look, Everton's tight defensively, but Reading is certainly not. I think this is an interesting matchup because Everton is much stronger defensively than Reading, but Reading can score goals, and that is not something that Everton can do right now. So I think that this could end up being a very interesting draw where Reading are, pushing, and Everton are defending. And it'll be a kind of game that plays out like that. All right, we're moving into Manchester United versus Liverpool. Honestly, this should be a walk for United. They finished 2022 extremely strong, beating Arsenal, and they need to make a statement, and especially because they are sitting in third, just 2 points behind Arsenal right now, and knowing that Arsenal is matching up against Chelsea, this is a must win for United. They very well could move into second place with this win.
So we saw how they played against Leicester. They barely nicked a 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with Man United is, and it's something that's going to come with time, but they focus all their attention on the big games, and they let what should be easy games for them just slide. And
that's another reason why it'll be a big test for them. Like, they can't win a championship without taking games like this.
No, they've got to, but it's just, you see it all the time. Like, I know the Conti Cup is not big for everybody, but the fact they've lost to Durham and Aston Villa in the Conti Cup, got it down to like penalties and just couldn't do it. Like, they're not going to get through in the Conti Cup round. Very unlikely, if not so impossible. And so maybe their focus was on the league, but we are seeing that they don't take into consideration. And Liverpool is a very physical team. So I don't think it'll be as easy for Man United as they think it will be.
Interesting. Moving into Leicester City versus Brighton.
I'm about to say something, and I'm sorry, Mike, our editor, but it is a bottom of the table clash.
I feel like Mike can safely admit that Brighton's at the bottom of the table now, right? We desensitized him to it by saying it so much. Brighton's bottom of the table. I'm sorry, Brighton fans. We really do feel for you.
Yeah, and Leicester, to be fair. I have nothing but respect for both of these teams. Leicester, you've yet to get a point on the board, and Brighton may get that new manager bounce, because they've got the new ex-Bayern manager has come in.
Listen, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Brighton's new manager is actually going to be a negative.
Ooh.
And I think that Leicester is going to start this season with a renewed faith. They're going to look at their schedule. They're going to say, we can take this game. We can take points off of this game. They're going to come in hot. And I think Brighton is not going to have enough time underneath them with their new manager to be set in their system. And I think it's going to be Leicester's.
Oh,
upset.
Very brave. Very brave. I would like to see it. No offense to Brighton fans, but I don't like these, we saw it with Yeovil a few seasons ago. These duck eggs teams where they just get trounced after trounced after trounced.
It's
so
sad.
I would like to see it for Leicester, that they start 2023 with a bang and get some points on the door.
I agree. Some growth throughout the season.
Exactly.
All right, our final matchup is West Ham versus Manchester City.
Ooh.
2 years ago, I would not have wanted to watch this game, and now this is
neither would have I.
This is going to be one of the best of the weekend. Obviously, you've got West Ham, I'm assuming, but how do you think these teams are matching up against each other? This is their first matchup of the season.
It's the first matchup of the season, and it's interesting.
It's an interesting one.
It's interesting because Man City haven't been able to settle on a defensive lineup this season through injury, through whatever reason. So Gareth Taylor's been mixing it up with various things, and we've seen it before. We see it again. West Ham like to start quick and strong. They like to, and we saw it against Tottenham. They can break down defenses with patience as well. So I don't think it's going to be a bloodbath, which makes me very happy as a West Ham fan.
And I don't think so either. These teams are such opposite styles of play. City is very possession based, build out of the back, obviously, and West Ham is very forward. And that is always a tricky one for the possession-based team, because that City could get themselves in trouble with that low block possession. But I do think that they will ultimately take it against West Ham. But I think that they're going to get themselves in some trouble, and West Ham's going to find some goals off of City's low possession.
Lisa Evans has done it before against them. I think she can do it again. Lisa's in fine form. Her playing with Smith has been fantastic. So I just think it's going to be an interesting game. I think, I mean, I'm going to bet against my own club. I do think we might lose it against Man City. But I don't think it's going to be a bloodbath. That's the most important thing for me. It's not going to, we've long gone from the days where we're losing 7-1, 8-0 to these teams.
Let's go around the world, around the world. This week, we are just going to update on when each league is coming back because there's so many various different start dates here.
Yep. So France, Spain, and Scotland are all returning this weekend, like the WSL.
Australia has already restarted. They basically did not take a break. So tune into A-League Australia. They are rolling down there.
And in Germany, the Bundesliga has taken an even longer break and don't actually restart until February.
We will miss them.
Yeah.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Okay, so we are now going across the Atlantic to the NWSL and the draft preview. Okay, I'm going to be very honest. The draft confuses the hell out of me.
To be fair, it does change every year, so I'll give you a little credit.
Exactly. At least I'm understanding how your league works now.
Right.
Give me that much credit.
Right.
But the draft is still confusing.
Right.
The draft is officially tomorrow. That is Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And if you have access, it will be on the CBS Sports Network.
The evil network that none of us have, unfortunately.
I was going to say no one seems to have this. But more people seem to have this, mainly because Drag Race is on it. But Paramount Plus, it will be on from 7 to 11 p.m.
Yeah, it's so weird. They split the time. So like the first hour from 6 to 7 is on CBS Sports Network. And then from 7 to 11 is on Paramount Plus. It's just, you know what? Let's not even get into it. It's
do better.
The plight of the NWSL that they can never get something on one streaming service that everybody can access, but at some point we will. For international listeners who are not in the US, I'm assuming anytime that the NWSL has something on Paramount Plus or CBS Sports Network, it's usually available internationally on Twitch. So watch on Twitch if you want.
Absolutely. So very basically the setup is there's going to be 4 rounds of the draft and there are 12 picks per round. So the most important question of this whole draft preview is who's got the lucky first pick?
Yeah, it's funny because there's 12 picks, but that doesn't mean that every team is picking in every round because trades have been made and teams trade away certain rounds of draft picks. In other words, I'll trade my first round draft pick for next year for this player. So a lot has been done here. And through a series of a lot of trades that we'll talk about, Angel City has the first pick in the draft, and it is rumored that they are going to select Alyssa Thompson. She's the 18-year-old who's been called into the U.S. Women's national team camps recently. If you watched any of the previous 2 U.S. Women's national team games, you saw her play a little bit and got her first 2 caps. So it's rumored that she's going first to Angel City.
Interesting. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's going to be an exciting move for her.
I mean, we'll talk about it, but I think we're going to see what's interesting about this draft is that this is the first year we're starting to see more and more players who have not graduated college entering the draft. Historically, it's been a lot of players who just graduated their senior year and now they're going into the draft. And more now we're seeing either 18-year-olds or sophomores, juniors, etc. But I think that's something that we'll come on to as we start to preview some of the players to watch for.
Absolutely. But there was a huge trade like literally last week, which was Angel City, Gotham, Portland, Orlando.
This was a big one. This was like whoa, we're back. Soccer's back.
Yeah, that one was massive.
Okay, so this is how Angel City ended up with the first round pick. And I think that, this is why everybody's speculating that it's Alyssa Thompson, because they went through so many hoops to get to that pick. And they only are going to do that if they know who they want and that player isn't going to fall into a later draft pick. For example, like the 7 or 8 spot. They're like, that player's going first. We need to get that player first. So we need to get to the number 1 spot. So this was a massive team trade. So the first trade that happened was Angel City traded with Portland. All right. And Angel City got Yasmin Ryan and Portland got the number 5 pick for this year and the 2024 highest second round pick from Angel City. You with me so far?
Got you so far.
Trade number 2, then Angel City has Yasmin Ryan. They turn around and they make a trade with Gotham. And Gotham now gets Yasmin Ryan and $250,000 of allocation money. And for that, Angel City gets Gotham's number 1 pick in the 2023 draft. And that is how Angel City got to that pick. But then Gotham turns around and says to Orlando, hey, now we want something from you. So Gotham, who had the number 1 and the number 2 pick, now has traded their number 2 pick to Orlando for $350,000 of allocation money and a 2024 4th round pick. But it's notable because $350,000 is it's the biggest trade allocation money so far in the history of the NWSL. So money is really flowing and Gotham is making moves. So a team to watch in this draft because they very clearly have a set plan. They've got a game plan is Gotham FC.
Can I just say poor Yasmin? Because like she's been this is why I don't like
I don't feel bad for her. And I'll tell you why. I feel like Gotham called her. I think that Yasmin wanted to end up at Gotham.
Right.
I don't think she thought, oh, yay, I'm at Angel City. Oh, wait, now I'm at Gotham. Yasmin knew she either wanted to or she knew she was ending up at Gotham, but it had to go through these roads.
Right. Okay. That makes me feel better because I'm like, that's just mean. Like,
yeah, no, typically when something like this happens, a player knows that their final destination, but something needs to be done in the process.
Right. Big question now, because we're talking about round picks and things like that. Does one team have more of an advantage with more first picks? Or is there a team that has no advantage and they got nothing?
Yeah, well, I mean, it all kind of depends on what you want in terms of what the advantage is. Obviously, the higher you pick, the better advantage you have. But certain teams have traded away certain round picks. North Carolina, for example, has 3 first-round picks in this draft. So you will see them getting 3 players in the first round. They're not getting any picks in the second round, and then they'll come again in the third round. But that is massive for North Carolina. On the other hand, San Diego Wave has 0 first-round picks or second-round picks for that matter. They had traded those away at some point in the process last year. So we won't see them at all until the third round, which number 1 is a detriment to San Diego. But number 2, it does implore them to make more strategic trades. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a day of trade where all of a sudden San Diego has a pick in the second round because they've traded something away.
Right.
All right. And then finally, OL Reign and Washington Spirit also do not have any first round picks.
Right. Because of previous trades.
Because of previous trades. But, you know, not having any first round picks, it's not a flag like with San Diego. It's not that we necessarily expect them to trade into that. San Diego's a flag because they didn't have a first or a second round. So that makes me more inclined to say they might trade into something.
So there are going to be some key young talent that, you know, coaches have been watching. If you follow the collegiate system, you've probably seen some talent that's up and coming there. We've already talked about Alyssa Thompson and like what she's already doing at such a young age. But are there any other players that are like ones that you're like, yes, teams should be watching out for? Use your picks wisely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is for those people who watch college soccer, this is like prime time because it's not watched like the NWSL is. So a lot of research has to be done by those who are watching a lot of the college soccer. I've got a few names. The first is Messiah Bright. She's out of TCU. She's a forward, and her stats are just outstanding. She's played for the U23 women's youth national team. She scored 49 career goals in 5 years. She scored 10 alone in this past season. She's just got outstanding numbers. She's a goal scorer, and teams will want that. My second, I've picked a forward, a midfielder, and a defender here. So
I think the midfielder here to watch is Michelle Cooper, and she is a sophomore coming out of Duke, which is, we'll come on to it. A sophomore, that means that she's 20 years old. She was the U20 captain for the U.S. Women's National Team U20 team. She is a midfielder, but she's a massive goal scorer. She scored 19 goals. She had 11 assists. That's the type of midfielder you want. She can score, she can assist. I think that's a big name that'll go first. And finally, I really want to highlight Reina Reyes. She's a defender, but she can score. She, on the defensive side, led her team to 12 shutouts, won the SEC Defender of the Year award, and scored 8 goals. I'm assuming majority off of corner kicks because that's typically how backs score their goals. But she's a really, really, she's just an incredible talent that I'm really excited to see in the NWSL.
And because I did do a little bit of research.
Yeah, I'm really excited about your pick, Allie.
I actually have a pick. Only one. But we're staying in Alabama, and it's McKinley Crone, who's a goalkeeper. So she's also helped with all of those wonderful shutouts and has been immense in the award seasons and everything else. And as we've said before, goalkeepers tend not to be the flavour of the month when it comes to draft picks. They are
I love
the
that
unsung heroes.
I love that verbiage that you just chose. The flavor of the month.
The flavor of the month when it comes to draft picks. So they tend to be, because they are solid and but I'm excited to see she may not be in the first round or second round, but whoever gets her is going to have a great keeper that they can train, maybe have her as a second keeper for a bit and then go on from there.
I want to spend a moment before we close to talk just about what I mentioned earlier, because I think it's the age, because it's a different trend that we're seeing, and it's got some positives and it's got some negatives, but we really are starting to see players register for the draft earlier. Historically, they register after college or they go play overseas and then they register. And now we're seeing more 18-year-olds register who didn't even go to college, or we're seeing players, for example, like Michelle Cooper, who I mentioned, a sophomore entering the draft. And I guess I'm curious, what, from your perspective, is that a positive? Is that a negative? Is it a net zero? How do you see that in that trend?
It's weird because over here in the UK we see it a lot more because we don't have the collegiate system for football. We've got people signed up to clubs when they're 8 years old, going through the academy programs and stuff like that. So for me, it makes sense because we do that all the time over here. It does make me sad because, in a way, because I'm like, your college years are some of your best years of your life for me, and you are signing up for things so young. Like you were saying, she's 18, sophomore, very young, and to go. I know a football career is finite because you have a much earlier retirement age. You're more likely to pick up injuries. But there's still part of me is like, you've already lost so many years because of the panini that happened. Do you really want to the panini? Do you really want to rush into something?
It's such a hit and a miss. And it's interesting because, college athletes could historically never get paid, right? Yeah. That was part of NCAA rules. You couldn't make a salary. And recently that's changed. You can make money while you're in college. And part of that you would think would keep players in college more because now you get the best of both worlds. You get to be in college and you get to be making money.
Will they get to finish college though? That's the big thing for me is
You mean because of injury?
Because of injury, because of the fact that they're going to be playing here, there and everywhere. And train. Because for example, if you say you're a Tar Heel, and that's North Carolina, right? Yeah. What if you don't get traded to the North Carolina Courage? What if you end up in Seattle or if you end up in Houston?
That could happen whether you leave the draft at 20, 21 or 22.
But I'm but you'd finish college first. Right. That's what I'm saying. The point is you saying you would finish college and then get drafted. But
and they're accepting being picked up and put, in a random city at that age.
I don't like it.
It's funny to me because I feel like it's so player specific. Yeah. And when I was playing, if you had told me I could go pro tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, let's do it. So I get it. But also having played in college, that's such a special experience.
Yeah.
So I guess it comes down to what I think it comes down to is just, simple player development. And there are some players, fewer and further between, Lindsey Horan was one of them, Mal Pugh was one of them, Alyssa Thompson is now one of them, that are simply not going to go to college because their development is at the point where this is the next step in the competition level that they need.
Yeah.
Right? And then these players who are leaving college early, maybe they are just, they've reached that threshold. They've reached the ceiling. There's no more competition. They want to go to the next step. I get that. I think that the majority of the time, you need that full development in college. And I'll add on the layer of, if you have a positive college experience, if, but if you do, stay there. Because if anything has been learned from the past year, it's that you don't know what the environment is that you're going to. And that's also why it makes me a little bit nervous. But that's with the assumption that it's a positive college environment. And sadly, we know this is systemic. There are a lot of college environments that are not positive at all. So if it is, I implore players to stay if they want, I suppose. And otherwise, I fully understand.
My only fear, I have many fears about this, but my real big fear is twofold. Is one, are we going to lose some great talent because they've pushed themselves too far too soon?
Yeah.
I'm going to take it from an English example. West Ham have just lost a great player in Thea Vieg because she's gone home because she's homesick. She's 18, was from Norway, a very young 18-year-old, came over to play for West Ham, had a great talent, and we've only had her for 3 months, and she's gone back to Norway because she's homesick because she's 18.
You make such a good point, too.
And I'm
you play better, too, when you're comfortable.
Are we going to lose some great talent that they're going to be because they've gone, oh, I've done this far too quick, I can't, and go. And the second thing is, yes, they're trying to eradicate all of the abuse and everything else, but do we want to be putting 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, these young players into positions that we haven't eradicated everything yet? We have the fail safes are going there, but we haven't yet.
Yeah.
Is this putting more people in danger? I just feel like
it's good questions.
That it just could be too much too soon. But as you said, though, we could be preventing a great talent from flourishing.
Right.
It's just hard.
Is this the trend, I think, is the bigger question here in the NWSL? Is this where we are trending towards, where it becomes that, the best players leave after their second year of college, and other players who go all 4 years are actually less likely to be drafted? I don't know. I don't think so, but it does bring up that question.
For my uneducated brain, is drafting really the only way you can get picked for an NWSL?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, we spoke with
Erin.
Was it Erin? Yeah. We spoke with Erin Simon, who played her way onto a team. She was undrafted. A lot of undrafted players go play in Europe somewhere, develop more, and then they can get traded into the NWSL. It's just the shiny object of top talent wanting to get into the NWSL that way. You'll probably get more money that way. You'll stay at home, so on and so forth. But it is absolutely not the only way. And that is the conclusion of our big first episode back in 2023. We've got a lot this year.
Yeah, late Christmas present for you guys.
And might I say, happy year of the World Cup to you, Allie.
Yes. 2023.
It's going to be a big one.
It's going to be glorious.
It's going to be glorious. And for both of us here at the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.